I thank Nigerians and I appreciate the great love they have for us. The parents, the family of Ogenenyero Sylvester Oromoni Jr. I so much appreciate them. God will continue as God used them, and God is still using them to fight for us. God will continue to fight for them. God will lift them higher above the reach of all their enemies. In the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth. But this battle that is on ground is of the Lord. Everlasting living God, the creator of heaven and earth, the I am that I am, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, the owner of the whole planet, the God that created the whole universe, we must surely avenge the death of my son, Ogenenyero Sylvester Oromoni.
Quite disheartening, those tears and wails and curses, but understandable as well, because it's not looking too good for the Oromoni family regarding the death of their 12-year-old son, a young man who was brought to a very sudden end toward the end of last year, I think toward the end of November, early December. He died in rather controversial circumstances. The young man was a student at Doen College in Lagos. He was taken to hospital in pains, and he mentioned that he had gotten jumped by some senior students who beat him up and forced him to take some kind of poisonous substance because he had refused to join a cult that they were trying to force him to join. This was Sylvester Oromoni's version of the story. And we saw videos and pictures of Sylvester Oromoni in great pain, barely able to walk, having to be carried in some instances, groaning in pain. His lips looked for sure like they had been burnt off by by something acidic for certain. He seemed to have blood on the inside of his mouth, which aligned with the story he had been given, that he had been forced to ingest something that he didn't know the nature of, as he refused to become a member of a cult in Doen College. The school, for its part, gave their own side of the story as Sylvester sustained some injuries while playing football. One of the autopsy reports, these reports have been unfolded in different stages. There's toxicology and so on and so forth. So that's just to give you a background as to why the mother is in such great pains and in such torment. I'll just go ahead and read what this day, one of Nigerian dailies, has on offer here. The title of the story is Oromoni's Death. Lagos Government Accepts DPP's Advice, Clears 5 Doen students and staff. Then we have Falana declares decision hasty, escapist. Following advice by the Director of Public Prosecution DPP, the Lagos State Government cleared all 5 students and 5 employees of Doen College who were accused of complicity in the death of a 12-year-old Sylvester Oromoni, a student of the college. The accused students, 16-year-old Favor Benjamin, 15-year-old Michael Kashamu, 16-year-old Edward Begwe, 14-year-old Ansel Temile, and 15-year-old Kenneth Iang, have since been granted 1 million naira bail by the courts. Also, the members of staff of the college, Selina Uduak, Valentine Igbo Ekweze, Hamid Ayomo Bariyu, Adesoya Olusesan Olusegun, and one Adeyemi were last week released after the expiration of the court order issued for their remand. the legal advice by DPP's Miss Adetutu Oshinusi was addressed to the Deputy Commissioner of Police, State Criminal Investigation Department, SCID, and Magistrate Olatunbosun Adeola, the trial magistrate, explaining that the interim and final autopsy reports issued by the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital and toxicology report of post-mortem samples and that of the Central Hospital Warri were in agreement with the cause of death. They cited the causes as septicemia, lobar pneumonia with acute pyelonephritis, pyomyositis of the right ankle, and acute bacteria pneumonia due to severe sepsis. The result of the toxicology also stated that it was not indicative of any toxic or poisonous substance in the body of the deceased. It was based on these results that the DPP advised that there was no prima facie case of murder, involuntary manslaughter, and or malicious administering of poison with intent to harm against the 5 students. The DPP further cleared all 5 students of belonging to any unlawful society due to insufficient facts to establish the offense, especially as police investigation did not reveal such. Prominent human rights lawyer Femi Falana, speaking for the family of the deceased, declared the legal advice on the unlawful killing of Sylvester as hasty and escapist, given that the coroner's inquest instituted by the Chief Coroner of Lagos State was adjourned to January 15, 2022. Now, I decided to just go ahead and Google what an inquest is. I have an idea, but it's always best to get the technical definition of a term that is not a commonly used one. So I'm taking this definition of the term inquest from Coroner's Courts Support Service UK. An inquest is defined as an investigation into a death which appears to be due to unknown, violent, or unnatural causes, designed to find out who the deceased was and where, when, and how, meaning by what means. In some inquests, for example, where the person has died whilst in custody or state detention, the scope of the inquest could be widened to include the broader circumstances leading to the death, but the coroner decides on the scope of the inquest. The how question is usually the most difficult. So that's the technical definition of what an inquest is. While I was looking through the internet, while I was searching online trying to find the meaning of the term inquest, I also stumbled upon another site that explained that usually inquests are only done if the cause of death cannot be determined. So further investigations are carried out and so on and so forth. But then again, I guess it could also be country specific. What I just read from right now applies to the UK. We get most of our laws and things like that from the UK owing to our relationship with them as our colonial masters and so on and so forth. So I figured that would be more appropriate than going to read something from an American website that is more applicable to an American environment and so on and so forth. That said, it's not looking good for the Oromoni family at the moment. It stopped looking good when their son died, and right now it looks as bad as it can get. Even if the autopsies, when I was reading, there's so many technical terms in the autopsy report, naturally. But I kept seeing things like pneumonia and so on and so forth, pneumonia, sepsis. If we were to break this down into layman's terms, are they saying that that young man died of pneumonia? Is that how pneumonia, are those the symptoms pneumonia normally comes with? A bloodied mouth, a peeling of the lips, general body pain, an inability to walk, and so on and so forth. Are we also going to completely discountenance Sylvester's testimony on his deathbed? Are we going to... Sylvester just decided to lie against 5 senior students. He just decided to lie. What about the other students that admitted that they witnessed the beating? What about them? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I think she cannot, but I think I've gone through and I've browsed the position of Family Falana and all the rest case.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I'm in a position to answer whatever question now.
Okay. So the thing is, do you mind if I just put you on speakerphone and record?
No, it's all right.
Okay. So that's what I'll do right now. I was actually in the middle of recording, so this just I was just... So your call came in at the right time. So I'm on the phone right now with Barrister Bamidele, who is, a lawyer. I already said he's Barrister Bamidele. I had called him earlier to find out his view, because I was like, okay, I understand that there's a certain period beyond which people cannot be kept detained. Is the family justified? Are they right to be so worried? Should they be calm? But what really, what does this whole mean? Because sometimes the technical jargon is not you don't really understand what is being said. So, Barrister Bamidele, good morning, and thank you for calling.
Well, thank you very much.
Just to let you know that I'm recording you, and the speakerphone is on right now as I ask these questions.
Okay.
So I'll just go straight to the point.
All right.
All those that were arrested in connection with Sylvester Oromoni's death have been let go by the police. They're out on bail. And this is a case that has been presented to the public as, well, a murder, or at the very least a manslaughter, because the young man who has died claimed that he got beaten up and fed some poison. Now, since the family found out that all the accused or all the suspects have been released, they have been quite unhappy. The general public is unhappy. Is there any cause for concern regarding the fact that all those involved with this matter at the moment are not in custody?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think what we are talking about is matters of law, actually. And they are not matters of sentiment. Even though most times when things like this happen or in the country, there is this court of public opinion where sentiment is always allowed to override issues of law, especially with non-lawyers. Basically, what has happened is that, well, now when a case like this happen, a case of a murder, manslaughter, and all the like happen, what the police will normally do is that the police will go into investigation. Now, in the course of investigation, if any investigation or result of investigation indicts anyone, what the police do is to go ahead and prosecute. And so it is appropriate for the DPP's office to have given the kind of advice that we have had that they gave on Tuesday, because the advice came out on Tuesday, and that advice is saying, let these people go, because none of whatever we have before us have indicted or has indicted or any of these ones that are being held or on the allegation of being responsible for the death of Sylvester Oromoni. So that is the way it has been so far. And that is what is appropriate in law, because, you see, law does not, it has nothing to do with a sentiment. It has nothing to do with, public opinion and what people are saying. I mean, on the street. Rather, law deals with facts and figures. And if these facts have not indicted anyone, if the evidence so far, none of the evidence so far has indicted any of these ones, so it is natural that they will be let go until maybe in future, who knows, there is other facts emerge that in any way indicts them. Thank you.
Okay. As a journalist, I totally understand where you're coming from. Regardless of the emotions and so on and so forth, you just get the facts and reports what is there, Try to get all sides of the story and so on and so forth. So I get that and I understand the stand of the law with regard to things like this. But how do we factor in what your learned colleague, Femi Falana, who is the lawyer for the family of the deceased, what he has said? Because in his opinion, he says that the DPP has been hasty.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I understand the position of the learned Sikh, Femi Falana. What Femi Falana is simply saying is that now the Lagos, the chief coroner of Lagos has actually ordered an inquest into the death of Sylvester Oromoni. And that inquest began on the 16th of December last year. It adjourned to the 15th of January, which is some days from now. So basically what Femi Falana is saying is that it is, the DPP's advice is hasty. The DPP would have just waited a little bit, to see the outcome of what the coroner's inquest is going to be. Because Femi Falana is of the opinion, Chief Femi Falana is of the opinion that the result of the inquest being conducted by the Chief Coroner of Lagos may have maybe turned the table the other way. Who knows? And so that it is hasty for the DPP to have issued that advice.
Okay. Now, in the course of following this story, I stumbled upon a number of videos where a few young people claiming to be students of Doen College
Yes.
claimed to have witnessed Sylvester Oromoni actually attacked that night.
Okay.
If the family are able to convince these young people to come out and testify, will it make any difference considering the medical reports that has come in?
Okay, thank you very much. I doubt if that will in any way sway or the decision in the opposite direction to what we have right now. And that's simply because, you see, there is no or speculation or no there has to be a nexus between the death of Sylvester Oromoni and what these people have been alleged one way or the other to have contributed to that death. You see, even if we have witnessed the death of someone, in this case, Sylvester Oromoni. Now, there has to be a nexus between acts from these suspects and the death itself.
You mean that there has to be a link? There has to be showing.
There has to be a link.
There has to be something showing conclusively that it was that beating that caused the death.
Yes. And so, even if there was a beating, even if there were other things, but then, if these things are not actually the cause of death, then we would just be talking about charging them for a different thing. But definitely not murder. It could have been manslaughter, it could have been something else. But then, definitely not murder. And so, what we are saying is that nobody is, I am not in any way or denying that there could have been whatever it is, probably beating, probably rough plays, probably whatever it is. But then, the question is, are those things the cause of the death of Sylvester Oromoni? If no, it then means it will be difficult to succeed with or the present charge. And the case we have on our hands. And so the DPP's advice was based on the result of those autopsies. They are very strong, especially that there is concurrence between the result of the autopsy conducted in Warri and that of Lagos. If what we are reading online is anything to to rely on. So since there is concurrence between these two results, honestly, it is most appropriate and it's most likely that the DPP's advice is going to go the way it has gone.
Wow. Okay, as disheartening as what you've said is, if that is the stand of, the law, then that is the stand of the law. Thank you very much, Barrister Bamidele.
You are very welcome.
I'm really grateful.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the opportunity.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I did have my fear that would be exactly what I would hear from, the lawyer, because it does appear as if the success of the case is hinged completely on the result of that autopsy. And the autopsy is telling us that it doesn't look like Sylvester Oromoni's death is a direct result of the beating and so on. It's sad. And I know the general perception out there, the general feeling out there is that, Nigerians, we're all at this place where we don't trust anything that has to do with the authorities. Many people are wondering if there's any way that the results of the autopsy were tampered with. People are wondering if, some of the people who were behind the scenes handling the autopsy results could have been influenced in one way or another. These are the speculations and ruminations out there, and everybody is just generally unhappy. I'm not happy about it either. But this is how things currently stand. And my heartfelt condolences go to the family of Oromoni, who at the end of the day will never know for a fact if the beatings led to their son's death or if he was already so ill that bottom line is, I'm stunned.